Good afternoon, Sales Academy followers, listeners, tweeters, YouTubers, LinkedIners. You know who you are. Thank you for being here. I've had a little break from podcast musings. I've taken some time out, which I do infrequently throughout the year, just to recharge, just to refresh. And sometimes I'm literally hammering these out twice a week, twice a month, and other times I'm like, let's have a little bit of a breather. And the breather's been great. The breather's been a real good opportunity to observe, to learn, to grow, to challenge myself and to shape some stuff and without the pressure of feeling, oh, I need to share that. So there's a list coming. So watch out for them, listen out for them because the you'll see a number of episodes dropping in the coming weeks, which is great. So thank you for being here. Today's musing is casual conversation. Casual conversation. And I mean this with huge respect, great depth. There's humor in it, profoundness in it, and everything else. And the reason I'm saying all of that is I've just been doing a book review for part of Sales Academy, what I do on terms of socials and stuff. I've read hundreds of books over the years, if not thousands. I love reading books and I love educating myself, and I have done since I was a teenager in detention at school. I spent time in the library when I was naughty, and I just become fascinated with reading and just building those knowledge pools and keys, unlocking other keys through self-education, if you like. And Milton Erickson was one of the guys, a book I read years and years ago called My Voice Will Go With You. And it's Milton Erickson, who's a famous psychiatrist and or psychologist, hypnotherapist. And he just captured all of his stories. Now, I don't know if you know this, so you would have heard of NLP and all that sort of stuff, I'm sure. And a lot of the teachings in some of the pillars behind NLP is actually the conversations that Milton had in his psychotherapy and his hypnotherapy sessions and stuff. And his approach was very much, a combination of telling stories, indirect suggestion, use of humor. He saw the unconscious mind as a friend and an ally and a limitless resource of creativity rather than the problem mind and all that sort of stuff. He was very much every individual comes in the room is an individual. So there's processes and there's structures and everything else. Yeah, but therapy isn't a formulaic thing, right? It's an individual human rapport thing. But he also had this utmost respect, which brought brilliant rapport with the person he was sat in front of wasn't broken. They've got all the tools they need. They just need some support to unlock a few things. So it wasn't that they were broken people who needed fixing. It was they were brilliantly untapped resources of of everything they ever needed, right? And that kind of belief facilitated all of his conversations and everything. And I followed that school of thought and I always have done in terms of my leadership, my coaching, my training. So whether it be sales training, whether it be business coaching, whether it be individuals and their life challenges and stuff, I come at it in a similar way, and I always have done. It's about coaching isn't a process. It's not a model. It's never been a model for me. It's about being as a good human being, being sat in front of another human being, asking questions, listening, receiving information, replaying some of that information, listening actively, right? Understanding what's being said, but also the words beneath it, the inflection of the voice. Are they in line and are they aligned with what they're saying? Do they move forward? Do they move backwards? Are they feeling it? Are they going with it or are they pulling against it? So I'm listening to all the non-verbal and watching for the non-verbal as well as the verbal and so really truly hearing and feeling and seeing what's happening with the individual in front of me and through a casual conversation of asking questions, telling stories, sharing anecdotes. It's like beautiful kind of indirect suggestion works better than a command, which is one of the things I've just written in the summary of this book. Is like he used indirect suggestion to just make subtle adjustments. He tells stories that people would pick their own bits from and they'd arrive at their own solutions and stuff. It's like you and I do this as human beings. We do it with friends, we do it with loved ones, we do it with clients, we do it with colleagues, right? We should be doing it with ourselves equally as much. So if you want to practice on anyone, practice on you. Catch and capture the conversations that you're having inside your head, the little voices, the ones that aren't as supportive as you want them to be, right? Capture and have a conversation with them. What are the counter statements that you need to make when you hear? I was talking earlier about it. When we hear about depression and low mood doesn't mean it's depression. Long periods of low mood can move towards depression and all that sort of stuff, right? It's like similar with imposter thoughts versus imposter syndrome. Like we're very quick to jump to I have imposter syndrome when the reality is most of us have imposter thoughts, and that's a normal and healthy thing. It's about survival and keeping us alive. So, but identifying that it's an imposter thought that's just come in How are you responding to that thought? What kind of mechanisms have you got up here? Have you consciously built any counter statements to recognize that, capture it, and go, hang on, I disagree, but here's something. I'm going to hear it, but I'm not necessarily going to a pact and agree it. And here's a counter statement that I can start to believe. I can shape my outcomes. I can shape my thinking and my next actions based on my counter statement because this voice, I'm hearing it, but it doesn't mean it's the universal truth. And this is about self-talk. This is about those casual conversations that you would have with yourself. You'd have them with other people. So develop and practice a skill with yourself, and you get better at your craft. I never go into a coaching conversation thinking, oh my God, I have to use this model or that model. What are you showing up with today? What's happening in your world? How are things? I'm asking a general open question in an opening format, and then I'm conversationally digging into what's being said and what's not being said. So there is no agenda for those coaching sessions. There is no predetermined outcome for where we're going. There are two human beings in a space that's been created of safety, having a conversation and poking and prodding and activating their very best solutions, whether that's one session or more. People will arrive at their destination and their own solutions if we give them the time and space to. And in that, we need some poking and some prodding. And that was what Ericsson was exceptionally good at. And that's why people studied and studied and studied how he got so many results with people and what was his format. And because I wanted to model that stuff. And that's why a lot of that was transferred into the NLP kind of training. Being a good human being. So many times I talk about coaching sessions can at times feel trance-like. And that's not a voodoo thing. It's like if you've ever stared out of the train window on a journey or stared out of the car window sat at traffic, you've gone into that daydream trance-like state. And sometimes we feel guilty for going there and we snap ourselves back to like the conscious mind and the everyday and what we're doing. All right, safety and driving and all that sort of stuff. I get it. But don't underestimate the power of that daydreaming. Don't underestimate the power of allowing your brain to just go into the other parts that we don't always access all of the time. There's real gold in there. There's a different way of thinking. There's a different voice. There's a different question or a different path to explore. And that comes through having casual conversations, not highly structured, over intellectualized, having to make yourself look like a fucking brilliant coach. Stop that twattiness. Just be a good human being in front of another good human being. All right. Be the crackpot, but be the authentic crackpot, the person that cares enough and is able to pull on stories that have anecdotal experiences and things that are relatable to the conversation you're having with the individual. All right. You've got life experiences to be able to do that. So stop fearing it. There's commonality and social proof in those stories. And people sometimes really need to hear that, whether it be validation or whatever, significance, but people need to hear sometimes, it's just not me. It's just not me that's struggling right now. It's just not me that doesn't have an answer or can't find my answer. And hold space, ask questions, listen intently, care enough, and you will help them find their best answers and they'll love you for it. So, coaching is all about casual conversations. I'll just put the book review up. So I'll stick the link for the book review under this when I share this on socials. So if you want to go and check out a little bit of review of the book, I'd highly recommend it. And then the next thing I do is get onto whatever bookstore you buy from and buy that book. If you're in the leadership space or the coaching space in any way, shape, or form, go and read Ericsson's stuff. He's trod a path for us, and there's absolute gold in there. And it really is one of those books that you want to get a highlighter to and make a bit of a mess of. And I know that can trigger some people because I'm not a big fan of writing in books. But this is really one of those ones that you need to make some notes and highlight some stuff because there's some absolute gold in there. Cool. That's it, guys. That's the music for today. Welcome back. Been great to have a little bit of a breather, but I'm looking forward to getting back into these more regular. I've got a list of subjects on my notepad, probably as long as my arm. So looking forward to sharing those and going deeper on some of them. Enjoy your week. Have a great time. And if this resonates with you, get in touch. Let's have a conversation. Speak to you soon. Peace out.